Hi, in this session I will discuss one of the special procedure for stock removal, that is two-step picking. So this is the session objective. This session we will discuss about a special procedure for stock removal, that is two-step picking. We will discuss what are the customizing settings and the master data settings that are required, and also see a demonstration of a two-step picking cycle. So why is two-step picking required? Two-step picking is a special form of collective processing of outbound deliveries. The two-step picking procedure divides the stock removal process into two steps, a withdrawal step and a distribution step. First, the total quantity of a material is removed from storage for a group of outbound deliveries and is stored temporarily in a storage type set up for this purpose. The material quantity is then distributed among the individual outbound deliveries and shipments in the goods issue area. Now basically two-step picking is a stock removal optimization process. Say for example you have a fast moving item and you have several outbound deliveries for this particular item. Now if the outbound deliveries are being processed, are being picked by someone or a group of users, or maybe even one user, if he goes and picks the material one by one for each individual outbound delivery, the process is not really optimized. Whereas we have an opportunity to optimize this process. What we can do is, for the today's entire operations load, we can see if the material is going to be picked for multiple delivery. If that is the case, then it makes sense that we club all the deliveries and pick the total quantity in one go. And we get the total quantity at one common place and then distribute it from that place to the respective deliveries. So in SAP we have something called the two-step picking, which we can use if we have some fast moving items and we would want to optimize the picking process so as to save time. So let us see some of the details in the system. So I have created a material 3131 3P and I have marked it relevant for two-step picking. This is the important step which would enable the system to understand that while removing this material is relevant for two-step picking. I have created one more material 3131 2P, which is also relevant for two-step picking. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create deliveries for this particular materials. We are going to create multiple deliveries and then we will see how to process these deliveries in two steps. First, let us see some of the customizing settings that are available in the system for this. So in two-step picking, the first step is to club the deliveries. That we can do in the SAP transactions, but the picking is done with the movement type 850, which is available in standard SAP for this purpose. And also the pick material, which is like a grouped material, group quantity, would be put in an interim storage type 200. So let us see some of the details. So before we see this in the system, just a schematic representation of the two-step picking. We start with creation of a group for the outbound deliveries. The first step is picking. So once the group is created, we have a collective requirement of the materials in all these outbound deliveries. We pick this as one quantity, one entire quantity for the group via a transfer order. Now when we do this, the movement type used is 850 and the material is put in interim storage type 200. Once this picking is done, then there is a second step, which is the allocation. In the allocation step, another set of transfer orders is created, and that is for the respective outbound deliveries. So if you have 3 outbound deliveries over here, you would have 3 transfer orders created, which would distribute the quantities to the 3 outbound deliveries. And here we have one single transfer order, which is going to pick an entire quantity and transfer it to the storage type 200. Let us see this movement type and the storage type in the system first before we start the actual process of two-step picking. So here I am in logistics execution, warehouse management, master data, and we will see the storage type 200. This comes with standard SAP. When you copy the warehouse 001, you should get the storage type 200 as well. So this is designated storage type 2 for the interim, as a designated interim storage type for two-step picking. So what is important here is the strategy. The strategy is dynamic coordinate reference number. So basically this means that the system is going to adopt the document number to create the bins dynamically. And during picking also it is going to pick the bins from the dynamic bin. Let us check the movement type that is created or is available for this. So the movement type is 850 and it has the destination bin 200 pre-configured in it. So this is the designated movement type 850 that comes along with the standard warehouse 001. When you copy 001, you would get this as well. So here you can see that the destination bin is 200. So the first step, whenever the TO is created, a single common TO is created, it is going to go in 200. Now let us see. There is one thing I need to show or discuss here. Now in two-step picking, we also need to set up a strategy to get the material from 200 in the second step, to get the material from the storage type 200 in the second step. So I have set up this particular search sequence for two-step picking. So basically what this is going to do is, once the material is in the first step, once the material is picked and stored in storage type 200, in the second step, when you need to allocate the material, this particular sequence would help the system to look into storage type 200. So my material storage type indicator is 001, which I am using right now. So that's the reason I have this, and the indicator or the process or the operation is two-step picking. So this is very important if you are going to use a two-step process in your warehouse. So let me demonstrate to you an entire end-to-end cycle for this two-step process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create multiple deliveries, and in those deliveries I'm going to have the two materials 3131 2P and 3131 3P, which are relevant for two-step picking. And what we're going to see or observe in the system, that how the system groups these deliveries and processes them in two steps. So this is the transfer order that I'm going to create. Sorry, this is the sales order, standard sales order that I'm going to create. And I have material quantity, various quantities, that I'm using. So I'm purposely using or creating the standard order so as to demonstrate and complete end-to-end process. I have the pricing maintained already. so I don't have to worry about this. So this is the standard order that I have created. Save this. I create a delivery with this. You can also use the transaction VL10B. So we have this delivery being created, and things to look out in the delivery relevant for picking is the warehouse number, the overall WM status in the picking tab. The rest of the things would be much normal. You can see that in a delivery which is relevant for picking, the item category should also be relevant for picking. Without the item category being relevant for picking, you will not be able to use it for your warehouse. So the setting, I'll just show you what is relevant for picking. I am in logistics execution, shipping, picking, and define item categories relevance, or define relevant item categories. So if you check the item category that is currently being picked for the delivery, this should be relevant for picking. If this is not relevant for picking, you will not be able to pick the items with the transfer order. So this is something I thought of mentioning so that you could check if your system, if this is correctly maintained. So I am creating a delivery. I will save this, and we have a delivery created. I have also created similar deliveries already, so we have total 3 deliveries. Now let us proceed further. Now we will start the process of creating a group for the deliveries that are created. So the transaction, you could use either a VL06O or VL06B directly. Go to for picking, enter the shipping point, and you will see all the deliveries that are relevant for picking at that point in time. I know that we have created these deliveries, so I'm going to select these deliveries and create a group for wave picking. So go to subsequent functions, group, and create with WM reference. This will ask you to name your group. I name the group as group B. Go ahead. You would see a group created for this. So the group is 6075. Next, we will analyze the relevance of this material for two-step picking. I use the transaction LT72 and give the group 6075. And you can see that in the group, these 2 materials are relevant for two-step picking. I don't need to do anything over here. There is one more transaction which is LX39. If I give the group here 6075 and execute, we can see the overall status, and then here we can, for picking, we can select the we can select the group and check the two-step relevance. It brings us here to LT73. We had been there in LT72 earlier. Next, we now need to create a transfer order for the group. So to create the transfer order, I use the transaction LT0E. You can find the transaction also in this menu. I am in Easy Access, Outbound Process, Picking, Create Transfer Order, via two-step picking. So the transaction is LT0E. I give my group, and I go for total quantity. I can choose background so that it would directly create one transfer order. Just so that we can see this. Here we can see that the requested quantity is 175 for 3132P, which is the cumulative quantity for 3 deliveries that we have in. And this is the cumulative quantity. I generate the TO item directly and save this. So we see a transfer order is created. Let us see this transfer order. So I use the transaction LT21 to display this transfer order. And we can see that the material that is picked is taken to storage type 200. And this is the movement type. This is the group. So the transfer order is not yet confirmed. Let us quickly take a look at the stock. LS26 is the transaction. And we can see that the stock is in process of getting moved, and it will come to 200. It is stock for put away 175. Once I confirm the transfer order with LT12, we can see the stock now. Now the stock for 31312P has come to 200. Similarly, 3P has come to 200. From here now we need to distribute the stock to the respective deliveries. So this is the first step of picking, in a two-step picking, and we see that how convenient it is to just club all the deliveries. That system would club all the deliveries and create a single transfer order, and all the material, entire quantity that is to be removed for the entire day is brought to the interim storage type 200. Now we can just go and see the status in LX39. We give the group. We can see the pick status is green. Now we have to process the allocation. To process the allocation part, we would select the allocation and create TOs. So here I would recommend that we create it in the background, because if we are going to create it in the foreground, then typically here there would be 3 TOs that are going to get created, and the system gets stuck in between if you try to proceed in the foreground. So I recommend that you process this in the background, and what the system is going to do is it is going to depending on the number of deliveries it is going to process and distribute the amount that has been allocated to that single group into the delivery. So it will take some time. The processing does take some time. We would start multiple processing, and in the end of this operation I would expect the system would create 3 transfer orders. So let us process this in the background, start multiple processing. So it is processing. Now we can see that 3 transfer orders are created for the group. If I want to see the details, I can see what transfer order was created for what document. And also, as I mentioned, that this group number forms the dynamic bin in storage type 200, just a point that I was mentioning earlier. So once this is done, you can release this for print in case you have that functionality. Or now our transfer order is done, we can come out. And this allocation, once we refresh the data, should turn green. 1 group was evaluated, 0 evaluation contains errors. So now we have completed the 2-step picking process. So this is a sequence of operations that we need to do, and the master data. So we have discussed what are the master data that is needed and what are the customizing settings that are needed. Also, one important thing is that in the search sequence, we need to make an entry to pick the material from storage type 200. So we discussed how to process this particular two-step picking with the help of all the customizing that comes with these standards.